Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. Glad you're with us this week. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, we're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And boy, nothing's more topical than education in this state. There's so much attention on the K through 12 aspect and a lot of the changes that a lot of people would like to see take place. And the guest we have today is kind of front and center in all of the issues that have to deal with K through 12 education.
Indeed. Superintendent Janet Bracey is with us today, and we're really pleased about that. She's been very active in early childhood education, in charter schools, in forming schools, in supervising schools, and now she is supervising our whole system of public instruction in Oklahoma, and off to a fast start.
There is so much going on, it's hard to keep up, and I think today will be a great opportunity for all of us to learn more about what's on the cutting edge of education in the state of Oklahoma. We'll hear straight from Janet Bracey today.
It's time, America. Our energy future can be ours again with American natural gas. We have an abundant, affordable supply, unrivaled anywhere. $1 billion a day for importing foreign oil isn't just a statistic, it's an opportunity. 30% lower greenhouse emissions isn't a pipe dream, it's a choice. Now is the time. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
You're looking at test, man.
Honey, I know, it was awesome. Avery, what's wrong?
A heart attack could shatter everything. A simple heart scan could save it. Schedule your $50 heart scan today at St. Anthony, the most trusted experts in cardiovascular care.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're really pleased to welcome to the Set of the Verdict the Honorable Janet Bracey, the Superintendent of Public Instruction for the state of Oklahoma. Ms. Barisi did her undergraduate work, her master's work, and her degree in dental surgery from the University of Oklahoma. And while being a dentist for 24 years, she was also involved with the Department of Otolaryngology at the University of Oklahoma Dental School. Yeah, I just was showing you I could say
you were yodeling there for a second.
She has been involved in education and education matters for a number of years. She was one of the original group to start the first charter school here in Oklahoma. Has also was one of the principal founders of the Harding Charter Preparatory High School here, and prior to becoming a superintendent. And now she is the leader of all of our public instruction here in Oklahoma, and we're really pleased to have you join us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Otolaryngology.
This is an odd career path to be a statewide office holder. It's not the resume of a typical politician, and maybe you don't consider yourself a politician, but nonetheless you had to run a statewide campaign. How was that, and how did you transition from this life that probably seemed very structured and somewhat normal into being a statewide elected official?
You are exactly right about that. It had a normal flow to it and an organization to it, but I had never run for anything at all ever in my life. Nothing. No. I was Pep Club president in high school. But I can tell you it was a fantastic experience getting to travel throughout the state. I found the power of a statewide race, which is the opportunity to get out there among Oklahomans. I spent about 85% of my time in rural Oklahoma, listening to folks and finding out what was important to them. And I can tell you it had a great impact on me.
How did it alter your views?
Well, I learned a lot about small schools and how important they are to communities, and they're the center of those communities. I got to listen to parents and to teachers, and even to interact with kids and to find out how much those schools mean to them. I got to hear about the particular problems that are evident in rural Oklahoma and urban Oklahoma as well, and to find out how they are different, that even this economic downturn is affecting every single district completely differently. And so mandates are very difficult.
I've always thought it was interesting when the subject of consolidation comes up, people immediately go to the rural areas for that conversation. I'm thinking, the cities could probably consolidate more efficiently than the rural areas even. But for some reason, the consolidation issue always seems to center around rural areas. So I'm sure that was part of the discussion that they were concerned about.
Absolutely, and you have a different situation in different parts of our state. Basically, we don't need to close down schools. What we need to do is reduce our administrative costs. And our administrative costs in this state per student as compared to other states is very high. As a matter of fact, we're in the top 10 states in the nation in what we spend on administration per student. But we're third from the bottom in what we put in the classroom. So we've got to flip that. And so we need to look at realistic ways that we can help reduce administrative costs and still maintain that small school feeling for districts.
How much of the process of change, of the flipping it as you characterized it, can be done by your office, and how much of it is a function of the legislature?
Well, consolidation is completely in the hands of the legislature, and they had multiple bills that they considered this past session and variations on those bills. I think the question will continue to come up, particularly this next year with our challenges with the budget this next year. We need to work with districts and individual communities. In western Oklahoma, they have consolidated. They have districts that have miles and miles apart. I have one district in the Panhandle that has 650 square miles in one district. Right. But yet you go to the eastern part of the state and they have districts that are maybe just a couple of miles apart. So a mandate for the state hurts one side but helps another. So we've got to take a look at this and come up with a solution that will fit the needs of the state.
The varying needs of east and west and rural and urban, did that surprise you, or were you expecting to see that?
I was expecting it somewhat, but it really made an impact on me. It really hit home. I got to delve very deeply into it. I was on the campaign trail for over 18 months, and the impact of it really hit me during that time. It gave me a lot of time to interact.
Just in thinking questions I could ask you, we could have about 5 shows here. So I think we got to be careful not to be drill down too deeply, because there's so many different things I want to talk to you about. But what about the office itself? What did you find? You were replacing Sandy Garrett, who had been in office years and years, and I assume there were some institutional situations going on there, and a new person coming in is probably going to want to make some changes. So what changes did Janet Bracey bring?
Well, first of all, we began taking a look at the department, and it's very important that we run the department efficiently and effectively. Up until I came in, the department had kind of taken on more of a regulatory type of agency philosophy. I knew it needed to be a service organization to districts. Yes, it has a regulatory requirement, but we are now rearranging the department. We've completely reorganized, and we are focused on teaching and learning. As a matter of fact, we have 3 core focuses in the department. The first core focus is that college ready and work ready must mean the same thing for Oklahoma children to be well prepared for the 21st century. Whether or not children want to go to college, they need to be prepared in order to take on these types of new and advanced jobs.
Well, that hasn't always been the case, has it?
No, when I graduated from high school in a year, about 75% of jobs did not require any college at all. That is now very different. 75% of jobs for new students actually require at least 1 year of college. In the next 10 years, 65% of jobs that are coming to this state will require as minimum proficiency for entry-level positions, proficiency in algebra, geometry, statistics, and data analysis. That gives you an idea how the rigor must increase in our schools to prepare children.
Well, let's start with early childhood education.
Yes.
You've been a proponent of that, as has the last governor and first lady, and it seems to be having an effect. We're seeing some good, solid results, and on that investment, we're considered as a state to be one of the leaders nationally.
That's right,
in
we
early
are.
childhood education. What's your views? What do you bring to that specific corridor of education?
Well, certainly we want to maintain the foundation that we began and continue to build on that foundation. It's absolutely critical. You know, for every $1 we invest in early childhood education, we yield $15 of benefits that we won't be spending down the line. We have to make sure our children are ready for kindergarten. So we want to continue to develop strong 4-year-old programs where people want them, not mandate them, but make them available in areas where they will most benefit. And then take a look at our kindergarten programs and make sure they're effective. We have to be able to early on recognize and identify children that show the potential to be struggling in reading. We need to identify them as soon as possible and be able to develop a strategy for them so they will be successful by 3rd grade.
Let me describe for our viewers your department. You're located, I guess, principal office or only offices in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Tell us about your structure, your employees, how many you have, that sort of thing.
Well, right now we have a little bit over 300 employees. We're fluctuating right now. As a matter of fact, we have vacancies and are posting job vacancies now that we've done the restructuring. And so we want to bring on some really great and bright people into the department to be into that area. But we have broken down into several divisions, not many. I wanted to keep it small. And so our largest division is academic affairs. As I said, that division is focused on teaching and learning. And then we have other divisions for what I call the business end of the profession, such as professional services, teacher accreditation, child nutrition services, all types of different things, fiscal services, et cetera. And I am, as a state superintendent, I have a chief of staff who is dealing more with employees on the business end of it and then managing all employees, but I am focused and working directly with the Division of Academic Affairs.
We're going to take a break. We're visiting with Janet Bracey, State Superintendent of Public Education. We'll have more with Janet right after we get back on the verdict.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence, and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
In 25 years, world energy demand will grow by 44%, with oil and natural gas largely meeting the need.
The question is, will America's demand be met by American resources?
Oklahoma says yes. We're developing the largest oil and natural gas discoveries America has seen in 40 years.
It's creating jobs and millions in tax revenue for schools, roads, and hospitals.
Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. We're visiting with Janet Bracey, the State Superintendent of Public Education.
Janet, tell us a little bit about kind of what your midterm goals are, not short-term, not long-term, kind of what you hope to be able to accomplish in your 4-year term.
Right. Well, last March I had the opportunity to roll out what we call the 3R agenda. It is really, if you would think of it as a roadmap for the next 4 years for my vision for education reform in the state of Oklahoma. And the 3 R's are rethink, restructure, and reform education in Oklahoma. Rethinking how we're delivering education and strategies used within our classrooms. Rethinking the use of technology within our schools. And learning to use data to drive instruction. Restructuring is principally the State Department of Education, but recently we've also been a part of Governor Fallon's initiative to consolidate under IT services, and so we're doing that. We're one of the first departments to do that, and I'm pleased to say that we've announced last week that we are projected to save over $4 million over the next several years, 6 years I believe, and this year alone we'll have $650,000 of savings. Reforming, as you saw, we had an historic legislative session this year for education reform. Principally among those are the social promotion bill that says every child must be able to read at 3rd grade level. That will phase in over the next 3 years. The next one is increasing transparency with an A through F grading bill where parents will be able to understand how their school is performing by using multiple metrics and giving a grade to that school and then also to that district. Lots of different things are going on, but it was a great legislative session.
Was the difficulties with the budget, did it impact your department in significant ways?
Yes, we have some very difficult decisions to make, and it is, you know, in a year where it is this difficult, it helps you though to step back and really kind of rethink, if you will, how programs are run and how they're administered. I think it's very important to take a look at programs and their efficacy. What effect are we getting for the tax dollars that we're spending? So we've been looking at that very, very carefully, making some decisions that will go before the State Board of Education for their approval, hopefully at this month's meeting. And we will then move forward from there. But we're doing everything we can to focus the dollars into the classroom. That is our focus right now.
How are you being received at the legislature?
Oh, I am.
Are your ideas welcome, or are they combative? What's the tenor?
I am just so fortunate. We have a legislature that is just very much aligned with education reform efforts and many of the proposals that we have made. And I'm very fortunate, and I have a governor that's also on board. That's why this was a historic session. Any one of the reforms that we passed, any one of them would have been historic. The removal of trial de novo makes it easier to get rid of bad teachers. Those would have been landmark things in any one year.
Explain what that means exactly. How will that actually be incorporated?
If a Board of Education decides to remove a teacher from a district, previous to this, a teacher could turn around to a district court judge and appeal their case, and the judge would rehear the case.
Do it all over again.
Yes, and could effectively overturn the decision of a duly elected school board. And that's called trial de novo, a new trial. And so that was removed this year, so now it is back to local control. School districts and their boards now will be making those decisions.
You have indicated in the first segment that people coming into this state with new businesses are setting the bar pretty high on education requirements. How is Oklahoma's dropout rate now? Is it at an acceptable level? I don't know that there ever is an acceptable dropout rate, but where are we in Oklahoma on dropout rate?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The way it has been reported up until now is just a little bit misleading. We need to look at the dropout rate in terms of the number of students that entered in the 9th grade and the number of students that left. And it is disturbing. It is fairly high. I think even beyond that, we need to look at other indicators that tell us how we're doing with education. We need to look at the number of students that need remediation in college once they get out of high school. We just received a report about the performance of students that graduated in 2009. 43% of those students required remediation once they got into college. 43%. And we know that less than half of those students will graduate in 6 years. We need to take a look at the number of students that are taking college prep while they are in high school. There's so many different indicators that we need to look at beyond just the dropout rate, but definitely we have to work on that.
What's your view on charter schools? Because you're well known for your support and your involvement.
Well, very clearly, I am a supporter of all forms of education choice. I believe in the parents' right to choose for their child, and I'm pleased that once again this year, also they passed, the legislature passed an opportunity scholarship, which will allow individuals and corporations to donate money to a not-for-profit. And then children of parents that are in poverty, high poverty areas, and in failing schools can use that money and take that money to go to a private school. You know, the neat thing about it is that a portion of this money donated will also be made available in a grant fund that rural schools can apply to, rural public schools can apply to improve their schools. I think when you have competition, I think that does nothing but improve schools. It works in the business world. Competition always helps improve the work that you're doing and the product that you have, and it's proving out in education as well.
You started were involved with the group that started the very first charter school in Oklahoma. About how many are there now across the state, if you know?
Currently, we have approximately 15, but we have many more that are coming online next year, possibly as many as 3 more, and the numbers will continue to grow through the years.
I need to ask you, both of you, this question.
Okay.
When will we have our downtown elementary school in Oklahoma City?
I believe 2013 is the scheduled opening time period. The site's been chosen. The exact structural model is still being determined, but I think it'll be some sort of geographic area and assuming there's the enrollment available, some sort of charter school.
But it'll be elementary level.
It is a K through 6, I believe, elementary school model. And hopefully it'll be the catalyst for for people living downtown. One of the reasons people say, well, why do you have a downtown school? You don't have people living there. Well, one of the reasons we don't have people living there because there's not a downtown school. And so the schools come, typically the people will follow. Your thoughts on that particular situation?
I think it's a great idea. I think it presents more opportunities for those that are in downtown to attract more people to live downtown, and then also for downtown workers if the attendance zone allows. I also want to point to the cooperative relationship between the group that is starting this in the Oklahoma City Public Schools and working together on this effort. I know that they've been working on this quite a long time, and I appreciate their efforts to work cooperatively, and just really look forward to attending the opening of that school.
Are you optimistic, neutral, or pessimistic about the future of education in Oklahoma?
You know, I'm very optimistic about it. We have challenges now, there's no doubt. That we have a crisis in education in Oklahoma, but it's now time to turn a crisis into an opportunity. And that's why I'm talking about rethinking and restructuring and reforming education in Oklahoma. This is an effort that, though, will require all of us. This really is about the future of our state. Governor Fallon talks about jobs, 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 and rightly so. She's absolutely right. If we're going to sustain the trajectory of those jobs, if we're going to help Oklahoma continue to improve, this is an all-hands-on-deck approach. We all have to be involved.
Tell us you're going to come back and be on another episode
so
we can continue to dig deeper into public education in Oklahoma. Janet Bracey, thank you for the job.
We'd love to have you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent of Public Education. Kent, now I'll have a final word after this.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of the verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. We are wrapping up a show with the State Superintendent of Public Education, Janet Bracey. You know, one of the topics we'll have to say for a future show is Teach for America, but it's a program that Janet and I went out and talked with some of the first recruiting class of teachers. But it's basically college graduates who have excelled and have achieved high marks, who want to give to their community for a couple of years and go into an inner city situation and teach. And we have a large group that is coming into Oklahoma City this year. We've already been programming the situation in Tulsa, and so it's really Oklahoma's first really roll up our sleeves and get after it, Teach for America project, and we have high hopes for it, but Janet's been very helpful.
And there, how many coming in Oklahoma City?
There's roughly 50, I believe, in this first year, and then there'll be even more in the second year, and Tulsa's had really good success so far, so we're optimistic as well, but it takes a lot of cooperation to make that happen, and Janet and I are very appreciative of a lot of others. We'll see you next week on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.